For nearly half a century, there was no arrest, no trial, no conviction, just a name in a file and a question that refused to disappear. Who killed Jeanette Ralston? In 1977, investigators believed they had done everything possible. They secured the scene. They collected evidence. They preserved what they could. But one critical piece was missing. Not evidence, but time. Time for science to catch up. Jeanette Ralston was 24 years old. She was a resident of San Mateo County, part of the Bay Area community north of San Jose. Friends described her as social and approachable, someone who enjoyed conversation, someone who enjoyed being out among people. She lived an ordinary life, work, friends, evenings out, the kind of life thousands of young adults were living in the 1970s. On January 31, 1977, Jeanette drove south to San Jose. It was not a long trip. It was not unusual. There was nothing to suggest it would be the last drive she ever made. That evening, Jeanette went to the Lion's Den bar in San Jose. The bar was busy. People moved in and out throughout the night. This was a time before cell phones, GPS tracking, security cameras. When someone left a bar in 1977, there was no digital record of where they went next. Witnesses later recalled seeing Jeanette at the bar and eventually leaving. No argument was reported. No disturbance was noticed. Nothing about that night stood out as dangerous. Jeanette never returned to San Mateo County. As the night passed into morning, concern began to grow. By the following day, friends and family realized something was wrong. Jeanette had vanished. On February 1, 1977, officers located Jeanette's Volkswagen Beetle parked in a residential area of San Jose. At first glance, the car looked ordinary. There were no broken windows, no forced entry, no visible damage. It did not immediately appear to be a crime scene. But when officers looked inside, everything changed. Jeanette Ralston was found in the back seat of her car. She was deceased. The discovery turned a missing person investigation into a homicide. Despite the violence of what had happened, the scene was quiet. There was no evidence of a loud struggle outside the vehicle. Whoever committed the crime had done so without drawing attention. The autopsy revealed critical details. Jeanette had been strangled. The weapon used was a long-sleeve shirt, wrapped tightly enough to take her life. There was also evidence of sexual assault. Investigators determined that the attack occurred inside the vehicle. This was not an impulsive accident. It was an intentional act of violence. As detectives processed the scene, they noticed something else. Someone had attempted to set the car on fire. The fire did not fully ignite, but burn marks made the intent clear. This detail mattered. It showed awareness. It showed calculation. The killer had tried to erase evidence and destroy the scene. In 1977, homicide investigations depended heavily on witness interviews, physical observation, and manual forensic work. There were no DNA databases, no automated fingerprint matching, no national systems connecting evidence across states. Inside the vehicle, detectives collected items for analysis. Among them was a pack of Eve cigarettes. Fingerprints were lifted from the pack, but at the time, they led nowhere. There was no match. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Despite investigative efforts, no suspect emerged. Eventually, Jeanette Ralston's case was officially classified as a cold case. But one decision would later prove critical. The evidence was preserved. Not discarded. Not destroyed. Stored, waiting. In 1978, a man named Willie Eugene Sims was convicted in Monterey County for assault with intent to commit murder. At the time of Jeanette Ralston's killing, Sims was an Army private stationed at Fort Ord. Despite the timing and location, his name was never connected to Jeanette's case. Not because investigators failed, but because the tools did not yet exist. After serving time, Sims left California, and for decades, the connection remained hidden. As years passed, investigators retired, families waited. Jeanette Ralston's murder remained unsolved, but forensic science did not stop advancing. Fingerprint databases expanded. DNA analysis became more precise. Cold case units were created to revisit old evidence. Cases once thought impossible were being solved. Jeanette's case was reopened. In 2024, Santa Clara County investigators returned to the preserved evidence. One item stood out: the cigarette pack recovered from the car in 1977. This time, it was processed using modern forensic systems. Latent fingerprints from the cigarette pack were entered into updated national databases. This time, there was a result. The fingerprints matched Willie Eugene Sims. For the first time in nearly 50 years, investigators had a name connected to the crime. Investigators pursued DNA testing. DNA recovered from beneath Jeanette's fingernails. The shirt used in the strangulation was compared to Sims's DNA. The results confirmed the match. The evidence aligned. The case was no longer unsolved. By 2025, Willie Eugene Sims was 69 years old. He was living quietly in Jefferson, Ohio. For decades, he had lived freely, while Jeanette's family waited for answers. Investigators now knew where he was. Authorities located Sims and placed him under arrest. He was charged with the 1977 murder of Jeanette Ralston. He was extradited to Santa Clara County, where the crime had occurred. If convicted, he faces 25 years to life in prison. This case was not solved by chance. It was solved because evidence was preserved. Technology advanced. Investigators refused to forget. A single piece of evidence, collected decades earlier, finally spoke. Jeanette Ralston was 24 years old when her life was taken. She never had the chance to grow older, but time did not protect the person responsible. Nearly 50 years later, science caught up, and the silence that lasted for decades finally ended.